In this video, I'm going to show you how to create a folded ring that is fairly strong and will not come apart and will support substantial weight. We begin with a rectangle. A 1x4 rectangle is about what you can work with. You can work with longer rectangles or shorter rectangles, but you need a certain amount of length to form the ring. And you want to loop it around and leave about a 2-inch overlap, and this will be the circumference of your ring. So you use that to judge what length you want to work with. To judge the width of the ring, you want to fold the paper in half, and this will form approximately the width of the ring. I begin the process by folding the paper in half. And I make a light crease. I do not make a heavy crease here. It is simply a marker for me to bring the bottom edge up to, and I bring it up near that folded edge, but not on it, so it's slightly below it. I can now form a very simple ring with one that is fairly weak. So I'm going to loop this around, nest the two edges, and essentially I have a ring that will support some weight. Now the problem with this particular ring is that in order to support weight, you need to have pressure on the space where the edges overlap. So if I put pressure right here with my finger and hold it down there, the ring will support weight. I'm going to slip this through here so you can see that I can actually lift this weight as long as I hold it in that position. But the minute I roll it around to a different position, it easily comes apart. Next, we'll see how we can improve that ring. Again, I begin by folding up to the center line. I'm also going to fold from the bottom, the other edge up towards the center line, and I do it not on the line, but slightly off, so there's a slight gap between the two edges. I like to train the paper in a circle before I proceed to the next step. So I make a fairly large loop and slowly bring that loop together to form a circle, smoothing the loop out as I go and bringing it increasingly closer together to train the paper to go in a loop. And you want to smooth it out when you get it to the position you want for the ring. You then simply nest the two ends together, and you can nest them in this direction, or you can nest them in the opposite direction. I like to nest it in the opposite direction because that gives me a smoother outside, and it's usually what you view as the outside of the ring. So I'm going to do that. To nest the bottom part of it, I simply nest one inside the other. To nest the top part, I need to lift up the outer edge of the and slide the inner side into the paper. And this can be a little tricky to slide it in, and you want to slide it in so you have about a ½ inch overlap. Once you have completed that, you have a nice ring, and you can smooth out the inside, and it will be fairly smooth on the inside. And as long as you put pressure where the overlap occurs, it will hold together fairly well. However, like the other ring, when you put pressure on any other area, it comes apart quite easily. Finally, we'll see how to make a more secure ring. We unfold the paper back to the starting position. We take one end and we fold over a flap of about 1/2 inch on one side. I bring this edge over to that flap and insert it under the flap. I then fold this edge over the top of the flap. And I want to hold down this flap and fold it back this way. You can now see how those two flaps are connected, and let me briefly take it apart so you can see how they fit inside each other. So you can see this is the way you want it, so that they fit inside each other. The next step is to fold in the outer edges. And to do that, you want to make sure your two edges are nested together. You hold them firmly from the bottom, and you push down where the overlap occurs towards the inside and give it a pinch. And you work your way all around the paper. Remember, you want to hold this down here, and you work your way all the way around the paper, holding over the edge. Now you might want to straighten the paper out and it'll go in a little bit easier. And work your way all the way around, pushing the edge in. Once it is over the edge, you want to smooth out the inside as best you can. Pinching around the edge and smoothing the paper as best you can. If you do this carefully, you can get it fairly smooth. You may have a few crinkles in there, and in some cases you don't need to worry about those crinkles, but it's much better to have it as smooth as possible. Turn the paper over and repeat the process on the other side, folding where the overlap occurs first. Working your way around the paper, folding it in. Smooth out the inside, getting it as smooth as possible. The smoother, the better. For some applications, like I said, if you don't get it perfectly smooth, that will be okay, because what you're going to be viewing most of the time is the outside of the ring, not the inside. But it is best if you can also smooth out the inside. And I pinch the edges strongly. Once I have that formed, I have a really strong link. It's very hard to pull apart. In fact, you'll probably tear the paper before it comes apart. Let's see if it will lift my weight. I'm going to slide this ring inside the other ring and see if I can use this, and you can see I can easily lift my weight. And no matter where I position that ring, I'm turning this around in different positions, you'll see it still holds the weight.